who is having long code reviews and what's happening with them. To begin with a bit of background, so I'm working at the university in research related to software engineering, but also I'm co-founder of a company called Bitergia, which is in fact doing this kind of analysis, and we produce dashboards and that kind of stuff for learning how software is being developed. So in this case, let's find long reviews in OpenStack. So for that, we have prepared a dashboard. So you have the URL for the dashboard right here, and you can try the real thing if you want. It's based on Kibana, and the basic idea is quite simple. We have uploaded to Elasticsearch all the information about the reviews, direct information available in OpenStack. So you have every single review that has been done in OpenStack stored in that database, and with Kibana we're going basically to query that database and so information. The dashboard is just a simple structure. So here you have seen the big numbers, so number of reviews analyzed. So this is the number of reviews currently in OpenStack, and the number of people involved. People submitting patches. These are the medians and the percentiles. So for instance, it means that of all the code reviews in OpenStack, 50% of them are done in 2 days or less, which is a pretty good number. If you go to 75%, that's 4 days or less, right? This is the share by project. So for instance, this is Nova, this is Neutron, and so you can go down, right? Here's the list of top persons submitting code reviews, submitting proposals for code review. This is the share of every kind of status. So blue is new, which means still in process. In this case, you have merged reviews, so reviews that end at the code base at some point, and here you have abandoned reviews. And this is a number of reviews per month of the different kinds, right? So you can understand how new reviews, reviews are still in process are around here at the end of the project, because usually the reviews were closed before either abandoned or merged, right? Let's start with the magic. So now we start to work with the dashboard and see what happens. So first of all, let's focus on those that are more than 10 days old, right? So here the picture is a bit different. If you look here, you can see how most of them are abandoned, merged as expected, but the share of abandoned is much more. If your review is sitting there for more than 10 days, the chances that it's going to be abandoned are much higher. How long do they take? Well, if you look here, you can see how for these that are more than 10 days old, the number of patches that you need is still pretty small. So for instance, here you can see this is 2, which means that 50% of all the code reviews more than 10 days old only had 2 patches, right? Which means that probably what is happening is that most of them are staying there for a while either the reviewer says something or the developer submits a new version. Well, and you still have the share and everything else. But really, we don't know how reviews that are in process will last. So including that information in the numbers is going to mess things up, because if it is still in review, maybe it's going to be one day or maybe 10 days. I don't know. So let's focus on the reviews that did finish already. So this is reviews that are more than 10 days old, but are already finished, either abandoned or merged. And here you can start to see a bit of different things. So for instance, you can see like Nova is right now a bit more important. So that's because of the history of Nova. And you can look here, this is the real evolution of how abandon and merge is happening for this kind of more than 10 days reviews. You can see how, well, here basically the reviews still didn't have a lot of time for finishing, but for all this part of the history, you can see how like half and half is keeping for most of the project. Half abandoned, half merged. But how long can really reviews be? So this is more than 50 days old. And you can see there are like 5,000 of those. And you can see how most of them were abandoned. In other words, if your review is sitting there for 50 days, forget about it. So you have like a 10% chance of it being merged at some point, right? let's double. So what happens with 100 days old? So, well, if your review sits for 100 days, you really are done. But you can see how the evolution of this over time is not the same. I mean, you have months where you have more reviews abandoned. I let to you as an exercise to relate that to the release code cycle. See what happens right after the release. And you can figure out why you have those more merges in those areas. But how many patches they have? So I mean, how many versions you have to submit until it gets abandoned? Because in the end, it's going to be abandoned. So you can see how this is the histogram showing how many of them. So this is 1. The next one is 2, 3, 4. And you can find out, I'm not going to enter into the details, you can see the dashboard for more details, but basically you can find that in many cases you have a really few amount of patches. That means maybe 1, 2, 3 patches, but the review is sitting there for more than 100 days. So this is not that efficient. Basically means that the review is doing nothing at all. So the reviewers are doing nothing, the developers are doing nothing, but the review is sitting there and to be abandoned in the end. Let's get still a bit longer. So 99% of reviews longer than 100 days are there for more than, you see, almost 1.5 years. So you have reviews that large. Not that much of them, but you have some. And you can see how you have like 15, for instance, with one patch set. That means there are 15 reviews that started more than 450 days ago, and were abandoned after that with only one patch set. So at some point, somebody said, okay, I finally abandoned, but was waiting for 1.5 years, right, which is nice. How many patch sets they have? On the right, you have basically the evolution of this. Look at the numbers, but you can see how some of them are waiting like 40 different patch sets. So some people were sending 40 different patch sets to be abandoned in the end. And well, since most of these are abandoned, let's see what happens with merged, which are usually more interesting. So for merged reviews, we have much less than that. We only have 100 and something, which is more than 100 years old. So that basically means that most of the reviews that are finally going to the code base take shorter than 100 days, which is pretty reasonable on the other hand. And of these, how many are of these that are long, but finally reviews, how they are, you can look at the numbers there. Again, I'm not going to enter into the details, but basically here you can see the distribution of time by month, and you can learn how many of them are staying there like 150 or even 200 days until they are merged. So you still have some hope if your review takes so much time. Here you can see which are the projects that are having those long reviews. And you can learn a lot from that, because those projects are being very slow in some reviews that finally enter into the code. And then you can say, you can look at the details. The dashboard is also showing you the actual reviews, so that you can read here and you can start to understand things. For instance, the first one, this one was sitting there for 545 days. And it says add.gitignore. So, you know, after so much time, somebody realized that, yeah, I can approve that, okay? And so who to blame as a summary? Well, hardly developers proposing patches. Most of them were accepted very quickly, so it's not a matter of that. Hardly reviewers finally accepting them. Some of them were, let's say, good enough to go after, to go and look for patches that were sitting there for more than 100 days and still look at them and still accept them. So, but look at the projects with less long reviews, because they have better practices. So you can see that this is very different from project to project within OpenStack. So you can learn good practices from those projects that are something like at most 50 days. And that's pretty much all. So as a summary, play with the dashboard and have a look at the kind of information that is interesting to you. The dashboard is there for you to play. I'm coming back to the first slide where you can download everything. You have this URL here. You can download the slides, and the links are clickable on the slides. Right? Thank you very much.